Opportunity and capital investors are requirements for the growth of a company. Investors lead to growth, which leads to corporations. So because you've got a bunch of investors, you've got more money, so you can grow it, and bigger companies and corporations. Corporations want to keep the investors, and they want to get more and the main objective is growth. It's pretty obvious. If you want to have a company, you want it to get bigger, so you can make more money. It also led to limited liability. It protects the owner seeking growth, because they don't have to pay back the investors if they fail. And the investor can then invest in multiple companies, which makes it so that if one fails, it's not catastrophic. So it's a win-win situation. The owner doesn't have to pay them back, and the investor doesn't have to worry about losing all of their money. In 1886, and there was a case called Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. The 14th Amendment is about citizenship, and it said that corporations were legally viewed like citizens with the same rights, protections, responsibilities, and they had to follow the same rules and laws, pay taxes, all of those things. There were some problems with that. First of all, it's pretty obvious. Corporations aren't people. And punishing is really difficult, and finding the only option, because really, who are you going to go to, since you've got all of these investors instead of one person owning the business. And corporations have a whole lot more capital than people, so finding them isn't a very big deal. The government ignored the illegal activities of corporations, and that happens a lot, because it helps the economic growth. Because they're paying out a lot of money. The massive growth of corporations happened because the government was agreeable. They let them go with whatever they wanted. Limited liability. They didn't have to worry about paying people back if they failed. New technology, which made things easier to make. Investors, which are what made corporations possible to begin with, and foreign investment. The increase of corporations led to the increase of success, and the more success, the more growth you have. And when you grow, you have more investors, which then leads to more growth. So it was just a vicious cycle. The more you grow, the more investors you have, which means more growth. The railroads led to the national economy, because now you could transport goods anywhere. So you didn't have to stay local. And that meant you had an unlimited number of consumers, which led to even more growth. So you've got all of these things coming in a row. This made it so that the U.S. had supremacy, and it lost the personal element of business. Like, you didn't have the owner, you didn't have the little shops anymore, it's just big business. And the corporations took over. The corporation takeover led to the increase of their power. In 1904, 70% of manufacturing employees worked for corporations. That's 7 in every 10 people you talked to on the streets worked for a corporation. That's a lot. Consumers liked the competition. Business did not, because the more variety there is, the lower they have to make their prices in order to compete. And if you have a lower price, you make less money. To combat it, the corporations decreased in prices, especially if they were buying in bulk. And they started pooling, and that's where a couple of separate companies shared competition and resources and separate together. But that led to some problems, because there's nothing binding them, so they could leave at any time. And when they'd get successful, they'd get really greedy and turn on each other, so that would break it off. And outsiders would recruit companies in the pool to create a new one. So it's not permanent enough. You can't really trust the other companies in it. They would also have rebates, which kept the old customers from leaving and going elsewhere. Because if you're getting rebates here, why would you go somewhere else? And lastly, they had consolidation, which is where large companies would buy out a small company. and little companies usually couldn't keep up because of prices. And that's the mystery.